Let's have a conversation.
I want to take this time to thank everybody for their support of myself, Mark, and the music and mental health movement. Please take this time to like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to get notified of when I drop some more great content. Thank you. What's happening, everybody? Good evening. Good evening. Hi, Dite. Everything is going cool for now. Everything is going cool for now. So I have finally reached the end of my leave time, of my family leave time from work. I knew the time was coming, but I did my best to live in the moment. And by that, what I mean is instead of thinking about the time potentially coming to an end or when it was going to come to an end, I was just like, I'm going to enjoy every day of the leave time as best as I can, and throw myself into each individual day and not necessarily think about what the future holds in that regard. And that really made me enjoy my time off more than I would have if I was like, oh, I have 90 days. Now I have 89 days. Now I have 88 days. I wasn't thinking about the days up until last week where I got an email about coordinating my return to work, and it gave me a sense of dread. But I think I'm just gonna feel that until I actually get back in there and start working again. Good evening, Dolly. So for those who don't know, this is gonna be my last live for a little bit. It's definitely gonna be my last live for this week. I'm not gonna be doing another live this week. There were times in my life previously where I didn't wait, or I should say, I just kept going until I experienced some kind of breakdown. So now I'm very serious about preventative measures. So last week, as I was thinking about my return to work, and I was thinking about how it was going to significantly alter my life and alter my schedule, my gym time, my YouTube times, the things that I do with my day, like all those things that you guys have seen me doing, going out, traveling, fitness stuff, television shows, all those kind of things. Like that's just not going to be on my schedule anymore at all. And work is going to be plugged back in there, which is a stress in and of itself. And now other things will have to be planned around my work schedule. So that's why just they say an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So I said instead of trying to juggle everything together and possibly just get overwhelmed by all that, I was like, as much as I love this YouTube page, I can take a break from that. So that's what I plan to do. I'm not going to be on this live for probably another week. We'll see how it goes, but most likely you're not going to see a live from me this week. I might upload a video or two on my membership page for those who have memberships. If you don't have a membership, now would be a good time to subscribe. But either way, if you don't subscribe to a membership, if you have ways to communicate with me, Instagram, email, whichever way that you usually talk to me, I will be responding, but you're just not going to see me live on this page for a little bit. Let's see. Hey, Danny, good evening. Hi, MC, if I didn't say so already. I think I saw you. I think I said hi in my head, and I didn't say hi out loud. How are you doing? Mark, I wish you the best, and it's a blessing to know you. Thank you. So I guess since I don't have any topic agenda really, and nobody has really given me one. Well, Lisa D had given me one, but I'm not sure if I'm really going to go on that topic or not. But I will just get into the how and the why. Oh, you just showed up right when I mentioned you, huh, Lisa? Um, I'll just get into a little bit of the how and the why that I ended up taking this leave in the first place. So, without going through the whole explanation all over again, everybody on who follows me on this channel knows that my father um, has been ill. It's not new. He's been ill since 2019, and it's just been progressively getting worse. And we knew that it was going to get worse, but some points in times it gets significantly worse. And this was one of those times. It got significantly worse in September of last year. So I was here trying to maintain at work and also be there for my family and be there for my dad as much as I could. And trying to juggle all of those things was doing damage on my mental health, major damage. So I sat here and it was affecting my work performance. I was still holding my spot, but I knew that my mind wasn't even in the mental space to entertain my job at this point in time. So I thought about my options. I thought about quitting the job. I thought about getting another job that was less stressful and less taxing. But then, after thinking about all my different options, I said, it is my right to take this family leave because I have a qualifier for that family leave. So I said, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to take a day, 2 days, a week, 2 weeks, because that's what I had done in the past. I was like, I'm going to take the maximum amount of days that are allowed by my state, which is 12 weeks. I said, I'm going to take 12 weeks. I gave them a month notice that I was going to do so. I gave them more than a month. I gave them like a month and a half notice that I was going to be taking these 12 weeks. So that was a tough time for me, but I hung in there. I did the work as best I could. This Big Brother thing kind of came up in the middle of that. I started covering Big Brother, and then the page started to expand and get more subscribers. And it actually actively gave me a good distraction, something to throw myself into and something to put my mind towards. It's something that you guys know. I've been live almost every day from about early September up until now. I take maybe one to 2 days off of live per week, if that. So this time that I'm going to be off uh, is going to be different for me, but I am going to have other things that are going to occupy my time. Walking through the day-to-day activities and not really being at work, head and heart are somewhere else. Yeah, and that's the thing. I've been in that position a lot in the last 3 years. And I'm going to say this. I don't like to say too much online because I know people can look at things online, but I'll just say this in a more general sense. My head and heart have not been in the jobs that I've been doing ever in my life. Never in my life. And I used to think that that was a problem with me. But during this time that I have taken off over the last 3 months, it gave me some clarity. And the conclusion that I have come to is that everything is not for everyone, because I know people that I have talked to that say, I love my job. I would never want to do anything else with my life. I love my boss. I love the structure. I love the company. I love the job security. They do this for me. They do that for me. Like, it's just the perfect thing for me. So when you guys see me sitting here and saying that that's not really for me, I'm just really just talking about me. It's different for everybody. Everybody has a different calling. Everybody has different things, different ways that they find purpose. I enjoy so much planning my day around the content that I'm going to put on this page. Like you guys see me sometimes, my fitness videos or my videos walking through the store or my videos going to the shows or walking through the city. And to you guys, it probably looks like random and spontaneous, but to me, it's not. I go to bed at night. I'm like, you know what? I want to make this funny gym video. So I sit down in my bed. I write it out on my notebook. I have a notebook. I have a notebook. I have notepads. You know, like everything that I'm doing, I take like immaculate notes about it, and I figure it out. I even have a page where I write down all the views, all my highest viewed videos, and the times that I posted them, and I'm into all these analytics and all this stuff. This is way more dedication than I do at jobs. I'm being careful with my words. uh, and I'll tell you something, Lisa. My job in 2015 is when I became a peer counselor. So I've had other jobs that had some parts of holding on to people's emotional needs. Like I've been in some kind of customer service jobs. I've been in retail jobs. I've done jobs where sometimes customers dump on you or whatever. It's different doing a job with customers versus doing a job with mental health clients, because that is your whole job. It's not a part of your job or a piece of your job, it's your whole job. So here's the thing. I do love talking to people and helping them get through their problems, but anybody who does any kind of social work will tell you that it's never the clients that are the biggest problem. You would think so. You would think that going into your office and having people dump on you about their life, their relationship, what's going on with their children, their spouse, even their job situation, you know, tragedies, different things that happen to them. You would think that that is the difficult part. Anyone who works in this field will tell you that is the least difficult part of everything. Like if you could just go in and that's the main thing, I can do that because I have a high capacity to listen to people when they have problems. I have a high capacity to listen to people when they have problems. But there's a lot of other elements to doing that kind of job. There's administrative meetings, there's documentation requirements, there's caseload requirements, there's treatment plans, there's goal settings that you have to do. Like there's just a lot to it. There's a lot more to it than just helping people. And the thing that I like about talking to you guys on the YouTube, on this like YouTube page, I don't have a requirement. You know, I have to match the YouTube standards or whatever. Yes, I have to match the YouTube standards, but if you think YouTube standards are hard, you should see the kind of contracts you have to do mental health work. There's a lot more rules in a contract for a mental health employee versus a YouTube standards contract. As much as YouTube does things that says things that you're not allowed to say and do, trust me, YouTube is much easier. YouTube, I'm just giving you guys my opinions and my thoughts, and I'm not somebody who really has to censor myself too much because that's just not how I am in real life. The only one thing that I would say that YouTube really censors me on, which I hate, is the music aspect, because in a perfect world, I wouldn't just be talking about mental health. I would be posting up music or I would be playing music before I start. But, the copyright stuff, that's why I don't bother with music most of the time. You'll find what's right for you, Mark. You have so much to offer. Thank you. And the thing is, I keep saying to people, there's not a job out there that will have me utilize all of my skills. I remember a job that I had applied for, must have been 7 or 8 years ago at this point. I got the job. And I remember during the interview process, they asked me about things that I could do. Matter of fact, I didn't want the job. Somebody told me there was an opening for it and they think that I could get it and they would put in a good word for me because they know the hiring manager. And I just went through with it because I felt bad to say no because that person was trying to help me out. So I go in the job interview. I'm doing all the things that you shouldn't do. I'm telling them about the pay that I want. And then they were like, is there anything else that you want me to know? I said, yeah, there are things that I want you to know. I do freelance photography. Um, I do freelance music. I do videography. I do public speaking on the side. Like I just listed out all these different things that I actually do. Well, I don't really do those things so much now, but at the time I was doing a lot of freelance work. So I figured that telling them that would make them be like, this guy has a little too much going on and we want somebody who is just focused on our company only. But no, the hiring manager was like, oh, I understand. Back in the day when I was your age, I was a DJ. I did photography myself. We can probably even find ways to implement your skills and talents into the job when you get in the job. So he gave me the job. And then I remember I started to do some creative things, and he was like, this is not really a place where you can be creative because being creative will get you sued. So do this exact thing. No creativity allowed. Insurance companies. I meant dealing with insurance. Yeah, insurance is a whole topic. Insurance is a whole topic, Lisa. But I don't deal with the insurance companies directly. I just have to adhere to certain standards. But I'm not the one who's actually specifically dealing with the insurance company for the most part, aside from helping out clients by contacting customer service with them, that type of thing. I hate workplaces. I hate that workplaces aren't loyal to you as an individual, but expect you to be loyal back. Oh, you know what? I said I had no agenda, but that's because it slipped my mind. I didn't write it down. That's why I write so many things down because I have so many ideas that just flow in and out of my head. But what I was really going to begin with in this live was to tell you guys sometimes when you say to somebody, I'm taking a break for self-care or mental health, they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry it got to this point for you where you need to take this like mental health break. I wish that it wasn't that case for you. It's something that I started doing intentionally. Forget about this break and all this stuff. It's something that I personally started doing for several years now. And I'll tell you the reason why I started to do that. In 2012, I had a job. I was working at this factory. I was working a lot of hours at this job. The job was a 40-hour job, but they always offered overtime. I always took all the overtime. I think I was about 25 years old at the time, and I thought I was a superhero, Superman. I didn't need sleep. I didn't need to eat well. I just worked and ate whatever and enjoyed my social life, and that's it. And I thought I could just continuously do that forever until I started to get panic attacks at work. So when I started to get the panic attacks at work, which there's other posts that I went into more details about. If anyone's interested, I could revisit this topic at another time, but I'm just giving you a Spark Notes version right now. So I ended up going to a doctor. They gave me my diagnosis: general anxiety disorder, depression, all that good stuff. I came back to work, and I was still having the panic attacks, and they were frequent. And I remember my boss asking me one day, because he noticed, it was very noticeable that I was experiencing some kind of trauma on the job. And he pulled me to the side and he was like, "Hey, Mark, what's going on with you? What's wrong?" And I decided to disclose, because this was the first time I had this diagnosis. And to this point, this boss was cool with me. I thought that he was cool. I thought that we had a good rapport. So I told him, I said, "Well, I got diagnosed with anxiety disorder and depression." And he said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, man." He said, "Just to let you know, you're one of my best workers. You're one of my favorite people. We'll do whatever we can to help make things better for you, because we don't want to lose somebody like you." He said, "For now, I think we should stop doing the overtime hours. I think we should stop doing the overtime hours. And we'll just do the regular 40 hours a week." He was like, "If you need to take a few extra breaks to get yourself together, go to the break room, drink some water, breathe, whatever you need to do. I understand. We just want to make sure that you're well. Your wellness is the most important thing." And I said to myself, wow, this is as good as this conversation could possibly have gone. I'm so happy I decided to tell him. I remember that conversation happened on like a Thursday or Friday. Monday, I come in and there's a lady there that is a new hire, apparently. And she comes in and I'm like, "Oh, hi, my name's Mark, blah, blah, blah." And I remember that I was like, "What position do you do?" And she was the same position that I was doing. So I was like, "Oh, this is interesting." So I remember asking my boss, I was like, "Hey, is there a particular reason why somebody was hired to do the same position that I'm doing?" And he was like, "They're not going to be at the same shift as you. They're going to be the evening shift. So we want somebody who is going to um, do the same exemplary work that you do. So we would like for you to train her for 2 weeks. And then once she's fully trained, she knows how to do the job, then we're going to slide her into the next shift and you're going to resume doing your shift." So I'm a skeptical person naturally. I don't believe everything I hear for sure. So I didn't necessarily believe that, but I'm like, I'm going to take the man at his word, because he looked me in the eye and gave me this explanation, and I'm going to choose to believe that. So I trained the girl for 2 weeks on how to do the job, showed her everything I knew. I taught her everything. And then I remember coming in after the 2 weeks, the following Monday, she was still there, and she looked at me like she was surprised that I was there. So I went to the boss and I was like, "Hey, why is so and so still here? I thought that she was switching shifts and getting switched to the next shift now that we're done with the 2 weeks of training." And he was like, "Oh yeah, we just didn't quite get to that yet. Sorry, there was a scheduling issue." And then I remember I worked that whole day alongside her. I went home, and then I got a call after I finished the day. "We're sorry, we're letting you go. Unfortunately, we only have the budget to pay one person for this position, so we don't have a need for you." This was after telling me all this stuff, gassing me up. Such a great worker, We're going to do everything that we can to assist you and help you out with your mental health. Telling me that that person was not replacing me, that they were just there because they want me to be able to show her the ropes and blah, blah, blah. But basically, as soon as they heard that I had an anxiety disorder, it was like, he's damaged goods. So let's create this exit plan to somewhat make it look like a legal way to slide him out the door and get somebody else in there. So that whole long story was to agree with Van Hoot's point that the job will discard you. So for me, I'm loyal to myself always. And since that time, I will never do anything that compromises my mental health. Because if I'm now in a position where I can't work, the job doesn't care. You're out. Somebody else is in. Not my problem anymore. Like, you're only my problem as long as you are doing some production and something that is helping us. So now, not just at this job I'm at now, but any job that I have done since then, I'll put random mental health days on my schedule every month. Oh, it's Wednesday the 13th. This is a mental health day. I don't care what's going on that day. Important meeting, new client that I'm supposed to be meeting. I don't care. That's a mental health day. Oh, February 13, February 18, mental health day. I put one of those days on my schedule every single month, and I don't give an explanation why. Because I don't have to. I earn the days. I earn the time off. I can use it and utilize it however I want to. Okay, let me get to these comments. We were all invincible in our 20s until someone checked us. Absolutely. Do you think you're ready to go back to work? No, but I've utilized all the time off available, all the paid time off that is available for me to use. I've utilized it, and I'm not in a position that I can take unpaid time off. So it is what it is. I'll make myself ready. Even before you finish this, it sounds like dude was now putting you on a damn list. Pretty much. Wow, Mark, that's a bit much. Van Hoot, you're right about that. The sad part is when these companies bring you in for one spot, tell you what you can and can't do somehow later down the line. Yeah, exactly. Like they act like I'm not gonna say all companies, but I really am gonna say that the majority of companies are not hiring you for your unique skills that you bring to the table. They're mostly hiring you for your ability to follow a task list to the letter. They don't want you to variate from it. They don't necessarily want you to bring any of your own flavor to the position. It's like, just put the salt and pepper in, and you better use the teaspoons that I gave you. If you put half a teaspoon instead of a quarter, you're fired. She was like, I'm doing your job. Manager was just looking out for the company and saying the right things. Exactly. Because here's the thing. He wasn't exactly lying in saying that I do exemplary work. I did. I was a great worker at that job. Never had any issues. They were always complimenting me, not just the boss, but all my coworkers. I was highly regarded at that company. But they knew that if I had an inkling that I was being replaced, I would just leave. And then it would be much harder for them to show that lady how to do the job versus me showing her. Because the thing with a lot of these jobs is they get somebody in there and there's like a blueprint that they show you. The manager was actually the one who showed me how to do the job. He's not someone who really did the job. He just knew the instructions. Like it's basically like he was giving me the instruction manual version of how to do the job. And I got in there and took the instructions that he gave me and like figured out a amazing way to do everything that I figured out myself, that is not written anywhere, that I'm the only one who could deliver it to somebody else. So he really did want me to do that. He just lied about his reasons why. It's like at the end of that, we're gonna get you out of there. Get your beep on out of here. Man, I'm sucking my teeth. Oh no. Comment section is lit tonight. They start to and on things that has nothing to do with. I think something's missing in that comment. Hey man, if you need to take a break, that's okay. Karen here is just here to help out. You mind if you could train this person on the exact thing you two? Got to be a team player, right? Yeah, right. And it was actually the first time in my career that that has ever happened to me. So even though in my mind it sounded like it was a stupid thing to do, I was like, the man wouldn't lie to my face, would he? He gave me his word as a man. So that means something. Nah. To some people in certain corporate settings, the word means nothing, especially depending on the position they're in. Lying to me didn't really put him at risk of anything. Next thing you know, they have you doing stuff that they didn't want you to do and told you that you couldn't do, and your whole title changes without you knowing. And if you switch up, it's a no. Another situation that happened to me was a job situation where somebody quit at another location, and they asked me if I could temporarily go to that other location 2 days a week. So I was staying at my original location and then for 3 days and then going to the other location for 2 days. And they said they just want me to do that temporarily while they find a replacement. So they told me a month. A month goes by, no replacement. 2 months goes by, no replacement. And this is way out of my way, by the way. My job location that I signed up for was like 10 minutes away from my house. The location that they wanted me to go to replace the guy who quit on the spot was like an hour something away from my house. So it's very inconvenient. So I told them, if you want me to keep doing this, y'all are gonna have to pay me more for that. And they were like, sorry, it's not in the budget. Then I'm like, sorry, I can't continue. They were like, oh, flexibility and this is core values of the company, blah, blah, blah. They gave me some speech and told me they were working on it. So long story short, I worked at both job sites for 6 months. And then I finally quit because I was on my last leg with telling them, you told me this is temporary and you basically are just using one of me to fill two positions that you should be having two separate people doing. The day that I gave them my 2-week notice, the following day they had another person and had me train him for the other location, which if y'all know anything about a hiring process, they didn't just get him. That means that he was already in the system, fingerprinted, background check, submitted all his paperwork and all that, and they had him on deck. So they were like, we're going to use you at these two locations as long as we can. And when you've had enough, bang, we got replacements right away. They replaced me at that office. And then my coworkers told me the other office, they replaced me within a week. So it was never a case that they couldn't find the staff. Don't believe these whole staffing things that they always be telling you. Oh, we don't have the staff. It's hard to find the staff. We can't find the staff. If they can find one person to do 10 things, they're like, I'm not going to hire 10 people. Because then we're paying 10 different salaries, 10 different sets of benefits. Don't get me started. I trained somebody into my position as well. It's the worst. It is the worst. Mark, I've told you stories. HR ain't your friend, and neither is your boss. Nah. MC, I was just telling Van Hoot the other day of a situation that I definitely can't talk about, but but it's definitely something that I learned what you're saying. HR works for the company. And sometimes you reporting something to HR gives them the playbook and helps them know what to do to protect the company. It all sounds good when they give you those orientation HR videos. The fact they didn't even try to see if it could work is soft and weak and disappointing. But sadly, people, especially young people, need to become aware of these things. Yeah. And I'm glad that it was hard, it was hurtful, and I struggled afterwards. However, it was still a relatively inconsequential instance in my life because I was able to go back home, go to my parents, regroup, get myself back together. I've learned a lot of lessons early, which means that I'm not going to have to learn those lessons later. Now I always think about protecting myself first. Van, you're right again. They are not. I wish I wasn't. The world is cold, but Mark is stronger for it, for sure. 9 out of 10 companies see you as a number. No one gets what they are owed, and they get what they have leverage to negotiate. I learned all about that too. It's not about what you're worth, it's about what you negotiate. For sure. For sure, it's about what you negotiate. And I can give an example of that too. During the pandemic, but before the pandemic, I was working at a company for a significant amount of time. I kept asking them for raises, and they kept telling me that the raises were not in the budget. We don't have the money. We don't have the money. We don't have the money. Pandemic hits, people start leaving in like large amounts. And I said, like, I need more money in order to stay with this company. They told me no. So what happened was I started shopping around and trying to find a new company. I found a new company that paid me more than the one that I was currently in. I quit. I tried to quit that job. As soon as I put in my letter to HR, I got a call from a higher up within an hour of me submitting this 2-week notice. They said, "What is it that is going to make you stay?" So I said, "I'm not staying." Like, I got offered another position, and that's that. See you guys. Like, I'm going to be here another 2 weeks and then I'm out. And they were like, "Well, what is about that position is so much better than this?" I was like, "Well, they pay way better than what y'all pay me. And I was asking you guys to pay me more, but you said you don't have it in the budget." So they said, "Give me a figure that it would take for you to stay." I gave them a figure that was much higher than the original one that I was asking for, that they said they didn't have the budget for. That person said, "Let me talk to the boss and call you back." Within 2 hours of that phone call that we had, they were like, "Done." So I said to myself, again, it was never a case that they didn't have the budget. It was that they were like, he doesn't know what he's worth, and he's not going to put us in a position where we're potentially going to lose him. So we could just keep postponing this conversation and he'll keep working indefinitely, which I was. This is the sad thing about some companies and the way they run. That has happened to me. Had me train a relative and I didn't know she was a relative. Wow. She barely had an input on computers. I just told her about everything. And before you know it, within a month or two, I noticed she kept coming back. They said it was only temporary. And they told me the position that I had was no longer open. That's the famous line. And I noticed all my things were moved from my desk, and she was now sitting there. I left the company, and they had some of kids come in to help, and they messed up every file and information. that was put into the computer, and what did they do before I left? They tried to ask me to yeah, the nerve, the nerve, the nerve. That is why a lot of people today are trying to become an RB, becoming entrepreneurs, and thank God. There's a lot of things to do. There's a lot of things to do as an entrepreneur, but as somebody who has now put in so much grind into this YouTube page and seen a little bit of profit from it, but not much, it's hard out there. It's hard. It's possible, but it's definitely not easy to be an entrepreneur. Back in the day, we trained our replacements to be able to move up the corporate ladder. It's a different world these days. Teaspoon, yeah. They already had your replacements on deck. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Because I'm no dummy. There's no way. Because the process for you to get into a mental health job is like, it's the same thing like getting into a hospital job. It's not some 1, 2, 3, sign your W-4 and sign your contract and you're in within a few days. It's like they got to do a criminal background check. They got to do all kinds of stuff, fingerprinting, you know. So in order for them to have slid those people in that position so quickly means that they were already far along in that process, if not on deck already. Like they could have been completely done the process already, and then the job was like, we'll let you know when we select whoever's going to be in the position. And then it was like, boom, Mark is out, get this guy in. To anyone, if you're thinking about having a conversation with HR, find yourself a good lawyer and career counselor. No doubt, MC, no doubt. Tell me about it. That was a way for them to hope you would go, so that, you know what, sometimes they try to do that too. That is a great point. Sometimes they don't have a legitimate reason to let go of you or a legal reason to let go of you, so they'll push your buttons and push you to a limit to try to get you to leave on your own. So then they don't have any legal issues to take care of behind the scenes. MC, I was just about to say that because HR is definitely not your friend, they'll tell you everything under the sun and then sleep you into the yeah, like you'll tell them all your business and then they'll have internal discussions about it and be like, how can we protect ourselves from Mark? Instead of how can we protect Mark from the thing that he came to us for? That type of deal. I've learned that the hard way. Mark, you're speaking facts and it's all sad. Yeah, so I think about myself over any job. Even if I was with the best job in the world, I still think about myself first, and I don't think the job is my friend ever. Ever. Even if my family member was the CEO of the job, I would still be thinking about myself. If it's not my company, there could be something that happens where they just decide overnight, we don't want him here. Always got to have some options. Always got to be listening to what's going on, paying attention. I go on Indeed almost daily. I go on job sites and check if my job is posted, and I've seen it before. I've had like disagreements with a job, and then I'm like, let me hop on this job site and see what's going on here. My job is posted on there. I'm like, y'all are not gonna pull no fast one on me. That's why I want to be my own. I want to be my own boss, no matter what it takes. I want to be my own boss. I've left 2 jobs for witnessing the companies get rid of people in some pretty strange ways. The sad part, Lisa, about the mental health field is that aside from like private practices that obviously are not run by um, the same governing bodies, they usually have high turnover rates with the therapists and the social workers, whatever. And the company sees it as like garbage in, garbage out. We don't care if there's a high turnover of employees. We don't care if subsequently there's a high turnover of patients. As long as there's people continuously coming in the door, that's it. We just care that there's live bodies coming in and out of the door at all times. Work in biotech, background checks and clearance takes longer than blood work. Exactly. Exactly. Like these jobs that I've done in this field, MC, it takes me like 3 weeks to a month after accepting the job for me to actually be able to get in the job and have my day one. Like it's very, very intensive. I think this one I might have done like a mouth swab. I think they did a strand of hair, blood work, criminal background check, credit check. Like they did a bunch of stuff. So I know that they did not just find somebody because I said I quit. I think that they had multiple people that they were like, we could put in these people. We're choosing when, where, and how. And then they were like, okay, we had a backup plan because we knew you were frustrated. We knew you were probably going to leave us eventually. So, bang. The funniest part of this story of that guy, that particular guy that they had me train and all that stuff, they called me up the next week after I left and asked me if I would come back. And they told me they were about to fire him. Not that they had fired him, they were about to fire him and are giving me a chance to go back into the position. I'm like, y'all aren't even fearful of me communicating and telling the guy. Not that I had a way to communicate with him. I was done with the company. But let's just say that I wasn't. Or let's just say that I called HR or something. Bad example. Bad example. Let's say I called what's it called? The Department of Labor. You are appreciated, Mark. Thanks, Van Hoot. Thanks, Van Hoot. This was two small private businesses, physical rehab, and other than the higher ups, 4 people, everyone else is garbage in, garbage out too. Yeah, that's the thing. The people at the top, the way the corporate structures work for like mental health clinics and mental health companies is the CEO, obviously like the CFO, the COO, the clinical director, and the doctors, and somewhat the nurses. Those are the people that are mostly solidly in those positions for years and they don't go anywhere. Like the top administrative positions, and then the doctors and nurses, because they need the doctors and nurses for the fact that um, they do a lot of different work with the patients. They write prescriptions, all that good stuff that makes the company tons of money. And then underneath that is the clinicians, the therapists. And then underneath that is like the social workers. And then underneath the social workers is the peer specialists, which is what I do. So that's the order of things. So we're kind of at the basement, even though the job that we do is important to the clients. It's not as important to the billing structure. So they're willing to let us go first. So because of that, I always have it in my mind, I'm expendable to you, so that means you're expendable to me also. Always keeping my options open. And the same part, you're paying your union bills. with the blimp. Yeah, I don't currently have a union. I have had one in the past. I don't have one at present. Um, but sometimes unions are important. I know there's definitely instances where unions are important. Being an at-will employee and not having a union, oh God, companies could do all kinds of things. Companies can do all kinds of things to at-will employees, and I'm gonna leave it at that. I know that, and you pay the union to go over you. Next minute, you know, as you said, they're not for you. Yeah, I know that unions do that too. I know that unions. I had an experience at UPS. We need jobs, but they need employees too. So the thing is, they need employees, but they're no longer concerned about long-term retention of employees. It feels like they're just like, okay, if I can get 6 months out of this guy, great. But if not, we're keeping those listings posted all the time. He decides to leave or she decides to leave, slide somebody right on in there. As long as we always have somebody in that position. I feel like companies used to value loyalty more, and they used to do things that would make somebody want to be loyal to them. Now they don't. Not so much. And I'm not just saying that based on my experiences. I talk to my friends, I talk to my family. You know, the majority of them tell me the same things that I'm saying. I just don't like to speak for everybody, but I can just say that it is the case for several people. But anyways, you know, I'm on topic and off topic at the same time. Tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., I'm going to be clocking into work for the first time since the last day of October 2022. I've been pretty stressed about that, especially everything. It really hit me this weekend. This weekend, I was like, this is really my last weekend of getting up in the morning and figuring out not having to set my alarm clock and just being like, okay, today I want to go to the gym at 10 o'clock in the morning. Then I want to go to the grocery store at noon. And maybe I'll head over here. Oh, I see this thing that I want to do in the city. So I'm just going to hop on the train or hop in the car, drive out to the city and do this event. Then I'm going to come back and I'm going to do a live about it. And then I'm going to watch some TV. I'm going to get in some Big Brother or whatever, the challenge, whatever TV show I'm watching. It hit me that I'm going to wake up in the morning on Tuesday morning with my alarm clock going off, not wanting the alarm clock to go off and being like, I got to get myself up and get myself ready for work. But I don't want to leave this live on any kind of a negative downer type of note. And I'll tell you guys the spin that I have, because I told all of you that something I've learned to do over the years, especially in recent years, is even if you have to acknowledge that you're in a position that you don't necessarily want to be in, find the silver lining in it. Find the silver lining in it. I really enjoyed this time off. It was a time of rest, a time of peace, a time of self-discovery, a time that I was able to do so many things that I would not have done otherwise. I met all these Big Brother people. I met all these challenge people. I went to these various events. I went on the Sherry Shepherd show, The View. I met with Kenny. I interviewed with Wes, with Ayana. I did like tons of fitness events that you guys saw. And I did these things in high volume because I had the time and opportunity. I got my YouTube page monetized within a very relatively short period of time. Less than 2 months, I got this page monetized. It has remained monetized since November 7 until now, December, January, about 2.5 months. I've done so many things that I wanted to do. I've been able to spend a lot of time with a lot of family because we've had a lot of family coming in and out to visit, and especially to see my dad. And I've been able to pick those family up from the airport, take them over to where my dad is staying, spend hours in there with him and with them, spend time with my mom, spend time with my sister. So many things that I've done. This is like the most productive 3 month stretch of my life. Now, there's a term that says when something is a means to an end. And I've heard that term all my life. This is just a means to an end. This is just a means to an end. And it was just a saying to me until now. I know that the things that I have to do starting again tomorrow are a means to an end. The end is cracking the code, figuring out my entrepreneurial life that I want to live, figuring out how to do things like this full time, travel, blog, motivational speaking, music gigs, like have that stuff fund my life for real ultimately. Right now, I have not cracked that code. And obviously, I can't afford to just not work while I'm getting it together. I have to work. So working is the means. There was a guy that I spoke to some years ago, and he was a millionaire. He is a millionaire. He lives like actually not far from me, and I used to see him every day because he ran this t-shirt shop that was around the corner from my house, and I used to go to his shop to get t-shirts made. And what was interesting was that he bought that particular location and let his kids run it, his son and his daughter, because they had a passion for like making designs, logos, and pressing shirts and pressing sweaters and all that kind of good stuff. So I had a lot of talks with him about what I wanted to do then. And this was more than 10 years ago, maybe 11, 12 years ago. I still had some of these same visions and dreams that I have now at that time. I just wasn't pushing as hard for them as I am now. So he was telling me that in his life, he was doing DJing. He was working at like a grocery store, I think he told me. And then he was doing DJing on the side. But he said ultimately he wanted to be a producer. He wanted to be a music producer. So he said what he started doing was putting his beats on cassette tapes. And when he would go DJ at a club or for a party, he would pass out his cassette tape to the artist or to the producer, whoever it was that was there that was famous and could possibly put him on. He would pass them out and be like, please check this out. This is my name. This is my phone number, blah, blah, blah. So he said for a long time, it didn't really yield him that much of a result. But then somebody was like, I want to pay you for this. So I think he told me his first contract was like 10K or something like that. And then he got another contract, let's say 50K. And then he said he got a $500,000 deal. And he said everything after that was like $1 million or more. So he said the point was of that whole story, never lose sight of your dreams, but make sure your bread is buttered. That's exactly what he said to me. Never lose sight of your dreams, but make sure your bread is buttered. It's okay to be doing something that you know that you don't want to do long term in the short term, as long as you remember what the long term goal is. Don't get trapped and stuck doing the thing that you have to do for too long to where the years just go by, man. You'd be so surprised if you start talking to people who are retired, which I have spoken to plenty of people who are much older than me, retired, lived their whole work life and all that, are done their work life. You'd be surprised at the fact that a lot of them didn't want to do what they ended up doing. They did not want to do what they ended up doing with their life. They had a dream, they had a vision. I want to do this. I want to be a writer. I want to be an artist. I want to build spaceships. I don't know. I want to be an architect. I want to be a musician. I want to create children's books. I want to make my own restaurant. I want to do this. I want to do that. Then they start going through life. And it's hard to do the thing that they want to do because they have to create it. And the things that are available for them to do are easier because it's already available. There's already a blueprint for it. Somebody who built their dream is now like, I need you to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You get this amount of money, you get this amount of break time, you get this amount of benefits, bang, bang, bang. And then let's say you got a family and mouths to feed. And you're like, well, I can't really pursue my dream when the kids are hungry, when the mortgage has to be paid. I got to keep up with the car. I got to put food on the table. I got to provide. I don't have the opportunity to chase my dreams. Or you might find somebody who thinks that they still have their dream in mind, but they're so wrapped up in what they have to do that they're no longer thinking about what they want to do anymore. And to tell you the truth, that person was starting to become me before I took this break. And I didn't realize it. A lot of people have told me I'm young. Thank you. I don't consider myself old, but I am 35 and I have been working since I was 18. So I've been working half my life. And I've been working on the books half my life. I've been working for real way more than half my life. But on the books, I've been working like half my life. 17 years. Not full time, not 17 years of full time work, but like 17 years of work. That's plenty enough. And I always said to myself, I was only going to be doing this stuff for a few years, build up my resume, get some money, do some investments, have my own business, blah, blah, blah. Like I assumed by this point, I'd have like multiple businesses and multiple different things that I would be doing. I never was like, yo, I want to be the best 9-to-5 employee there ever was. If you look at the stuff I was saying early in my life, I wasn't even saying that then. It was surprising the things I said I wanted to do when I was a child. It was not the things that the average child said. The point of what I'm saying, though, is it's not a failure to be in a situation that you don't necessarily want to be in right now, as long as you keep the goal in mind. Always keep the goal in mind. So for me, what that is going to look like is I'm going to commit to do the best job that I can do at the tasks that I have to do to keep my head afloat. And in my off time, I'm going to be putting in this grind, man. I'm going to be sacrificing some of my off time, several of my off time, as a matter of fact, to build and build and build and build and build. And one day when I have built enough, I can let go of the parts of my life that I don't want there. And I can choose to only put my time towards the things I want to do. Because trust me, y'all have seen how many videos I put in on this page. I always brag about my notebooks and my notepads and all the different stuff that I'm writing down and all the different notes that I take and the hours that I spend reviewing footage and all this kind of stuff. None of this has felt like work. I already feel like I'm working right now, just thinking about having to clock in tomorrow. I'm already stressed about that right now. None of this stuff has stressed me in this 3 months. Zero. None of this stuff has stressed me at all. So I'm going to continue working at it. And one day, I just know that I'm going to look back at this video and be like, this was such a great turning point in my life. The point of my life when I finally said, I don't have to do things that I don't want to do. And I have to figure my way out. And I'm going to figure my way out. And the thing that is represented the most to me is the time you get in life. And the reason why I'm thinking so much about the time that you get in your life is watching my dad's regression over the last 4 years in particular. It's been very, very hard and very taxing. And I remember when my dad was still able to talk to me and communicate with me, he put in a lot of respectable years at work. 40 plus years, he retired. And he said to me, Mark, if I could do my career over again, I would do the things that you're trying to do. And some people, most of you don't know my dad, but a couple of you do. He always encouraged me to go the traditional route. Always. You should do accounting like me. It's a foolproof job. It pays well. You can go anywhere in the world. Your CPA and your accounting degree will always be good. You can do it on the side. You can do people's taxes. You can get your fraud examiner certificate like he did, or your auditor certificate. And he was encouraging me to go down that path my whole life. The end of his career, after spending 40 plus years doing that and not loving it and just doing it for the money, he told me, the things that you're doing with your YouTube page, the things that you're doing with your music, the things that you're doing with public speaking and throwing events and all that kind of stuff. You need to be doing that. You need to figure out how to make a career doing that. My YouTube page, he used to ask me to put on my YouTube videos for him to watch. After his second stroke, I believe, he would just love sitting down in front of the computer or the TV and watching my YouTube videos. So I think about the fact that our time in this life is limited. And imagine you spend 3/4 of your life, 2/3 to 3/4, depending on how long you live, waking up every morning dreading what you have to do and just doing it because like that's what I have to do. And then you get to the end and you're like, here I am retired, but all these good years that I had, I spent them doing things that I didn't love and I didn't enjoy. Who says that you shouldn't be able to be passionate about the things that you're getting paid to do? I don't know who invented that lie, but I refuse. I refuse to accept that. I refuse to accept that. No way, man. No way. Not me, not this guy. And if I'm wrong, I'm going to be wrong and strong forever because I'm never going to give up. And I believe that one day I'm going to be one of those people giving those talks about what never giving up and never giving in did for me. And why I'm over here on the other side, encouraging everybody else to do the same. I'm happy that you're able to basically take a time out and live your best life that you was possibly able to live until it was time to return. And with that being said, it was a pleasure known. Just to clarify, I'm not leaving this page. Just to clarify for all you guys, I'm not leaving this page. I have an exact time that I'm going to be off. And I mentioned this before. I'm going to be off of the page. I'm going to be off of doing lives on this page for the rest of this week. And I'm going to be back here the beginning of next week. So don't think that I'm going to be off of this page some long, indefinite amount of time. That's not the plan. The plan is just taking off these few days as I'm getting back into my work routine, just for self-care, figuring out what my new routine is going to look like. I'm not leaving this page. Not leaving this page, just to make that 100% clear. I look forward to seeing you again. What a pleasure. Oh, good night, Harriet. I missed that comment. Prayers, your first day back is a great one. It's going to be what it's going to be, but thanks for saying that. Father must be so proud of you to step outside of the traditional way. It was such an amazing thing for him to tell me that, because he always discouraged what I was doing. He felt like all this stuff, or he told me like all this stuff that I'm doing is a waste of time. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? You need to get yourself a nice corporate job, nice corner office, you know, work your way up the corporate ladder to get your way to the top, start stapling papers, and then, you know, move up, internship, and then here, get more degrees and do more stuff and get your way to the top of the corporate ladder. That's what he was telling me my whole life. And then all of a sudden, like when he retired and started reflecting back on his life, and then also paying attention to some of the things that I was doing with my life that he probably did not notice before when he was on the go, he did actually say, like, you're going down the right path. And that I would love to have your skills and talents. Don't let those things go to waste. I'm blessed with a lot of gifts, and they're not job gifts. They're not gifts that lend themselves to any particular job. And you know what, MC? I'm going to tell you this, and I've said this to people all the time in real life. Not that I don't consider this real life, but whenever I say real life, I mean, I've said this to people in person plenty of times. I respect the way that life was before I was in it. My folks, both of my parents, came from third world countries. My dad in Africa, my mom in the Caribbean, in South America. They didn't grow up with a lot. My mom went to school by boat. They didn't have all these different things that I have. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't have running tap water and flushable toilets, fridge and microwave and like, you know, all these things that I have known because they've just been here from the time that I was here. I've had those things. Um, so they left their countries. They came to North America. They worked hard. They went to school. They got their degrees. My dad got several degrees. His degrees, his certifications, his masters, his doctorate. You know, like they got good jobs. My father was an accountant his whole career. My mom was a nurse. They both retired within the last. My mom retired, I think, 2 years ago now, and I think it was 2 years, yeah. And my dad retired maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. Hard workers, you know, like they worked really hard. They worked a lot of years. They gave us things that they weren't able to get themselves. And I respect that. And I respect everyone who's been in that position. Get a good job, work hard, do something they don't really like, do it for many years, feed their families, keep their families under a roof, give them a good life, give them a better life than the one that they had when they grew up. I respect that. Now we're in a different era. And I think there's a saying that's like, when you know better, you do better. That was the best thing to do at that time. And I feel like now there's more options. I feel like back in the day, and when I say back in the day, I don't even necessarily mean the 50s or the 60s. Even maybe 20 years ago, 25 years ago, if you're like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur, that means you're a bum. It just means you're not working and you're like, I just want to have fun with my life. Now there's little kids that have YouTube pages and make more money than mom and dad doing like YouTube commentary on video games. So we have a lot of options in this world. And I think it would behoove the previous generation to start encouraging their kids and their grandkids and whoever else, just the younger generation in general, to do the advice that the guy gave me. Make sure your bread is buttered, but never lose sight of your goals. To encourage you to say, you can actually do that thing that you want to do. You can get paid for it and paid well, and you do not have to fit in the traditional box. Good evening, everyone. I see that I'm late to the party. To be honest, Rory, good evening, by the way. To be honest with you, I was actually gonna hop on here for like 20 to 30 minutes. I've been on here for an hour and 20. I know I always say that, but I was just thinking to myself, the fact that I'm not going to be on live the rest of the week, I kind of extended the time some because I'm just doing a victory lap. I did the right thing when I took that time. I would do it again in a heartbeat. And I'm glad for all the things that I've done, the lessons that I've learned during this time. Man, it's been a time. It has been a time. It has been a time. I've said this already, but I really want to thank you all for your support during this time. And I don't just mean thank you for the views or like watching my channel and giving my channel views. I care about that, but I don't care about that at the same time. Views are important in terms of I'm trying to get paid. So yeah, views are important for me to get paid, but my value is not really attached to a view like that. It's when I sit here and I read all of your guys' comments. And actually, when I first started, I wasn't talking about my personal life at all. This stuff was going on with my dad, and I was not talking about it at all. And I didn't want to talk about it. I remember I mentioned it one time during a Big Brother live, and then my comment section got flooded with people that were like, I'm praying for you. I'm praying for him. I hope he gets better. How are you doing? I'm dealing with this with my dad or my mom, or I've dealt with this with my grandparents, or with so many different things that I saw in there that I didn't expect. Because I'm like, y'all ain't really following me for me. Y'all are following me for Big Brother. Big Brother ended. What was it? September 25? We're almost 4 months out. So thank y'all. Thank y'all for being here. Thank y'all for helping me to believe in myself more. I put in the time because of the reciprocation that I get. Because I've had this YouTube page since April of 2021. And I was putting videos up. You can go back and look at them. And they were getting 30 views, 20 views, 40 views. So I was like, you know what? Nobody's watching. So I'm not going to continue. I'm not going to do this so consistently. I've been so consistent because you all have been so consistent. I missed the majority of the conversation, but good luck on taking your mental break, Mark. We all need it, and I see how much you've been posting lately. That has to be an awesome feeling to have your father come around and realize. And I'm so glad that he was able to verbalize that and vocalize that to me before he was too disabled to be able to speak. That's the whole thing. I did not realize that that would have been, one of the last kind of things that he was saying to me in conversation. It's just amazing to think about, because I don't know if anyone has experienced a family member who is sick, but they can still talk, and then they stop being able to talk. It's devastating. Seriously, it's devastating, because you're like, even though they're not well, and even though you can clearly see they're deteriorating, they have different issues, at least if they're able to talk to you, they can share their thoughts and feelings, and you can share yours, and maybe you can revisit old times, talk about different things that happened in their life, learn some things from them that you didn't know before. But when they stop talking and you go visit and you're just talking to them and they're just looking at you, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. I experienced it once before, and I had hoped that I would never experience it again. But you don't have a choice in this life. You deal with whatever cards that you're dealt. These are the cards that I've been dealt right now. So for me, instead of going in there and just talking to him and looking at him, I go in there with my music. My music is for him, but my music is also for me. I don't want to sit in there and spend all the time looking sad and being sad. I want to do something that might be reaching some part of his brain somewhere, and something that also cheers me up. And then when I go in there, it cheers up the whole floor. Any of these places that he's been staying at, people are always enjoying the music that I bring in there. And I know that that's like another gift that I have, a gift that I'm forever looking for ways to utilize some more. So anyways, just before I close off, because I know I do have to go, when I come back, I'm probably going to be posting lives on more of a schedule. And what I mean by that is, during this time, I was able to go live with you guys anytime, morning, noon, and night. Hop on here in the morning, hop on here midday, hop on here at night. Morning is pretty much over, unless I did like an early one before I start work, but morning is pretty much over. What I'm hoping to do, or what I'm planning to do, is to have a recording day where I record multiple videos that I'm going to drop at various times during the week. And I will have a live schedule where I will probably be going live 2 or 3 days a week instead of like the 5, 6 that I've been doing now. I'm still going to continue to do the lives, but I have to schedule it for the sake of not overexpending myself now that I have a 40-hour chunk of time that is going to be taken up by work. So y'all are still going to see me post regularly, often. I'm going to be posting a little bit less on the live tip. I'm not going to be posting as many lives, but I am still going to do 2 to 3 per week. And obviously, it's not going to be like a stringent schedule where I'm only doing that. There could be things that pop up where there's a topic that comes up that I might do an extra one. I'm just saying in terms of what my schedule is going to be, it might be, let's say I'm doing a live every week, Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. This is not locked in. I have to think about it. It's just an example, like a live Sunday, Wednesday, Friday. But I am going to be recording a lot of content for you, but I'm going to be recording it in blocks. And what I mean by that is I won't have time to sit here and record a lot of content daily. So what I'm going to do is do what all the pros do. Do what a lot of the pros do, which is to have a professional recording day or a couple of days where I'm recording multiple different segments, just like what they do on these TV shows that I go to, where you think that all the content you see is recorded the same day that you're seeing it, when really they are recording a lot of it in one day and spreading it out over multiple days and sometimes weeks. Like Steve Wilkos, I was there for 1 day of recording and I was on 5 episodes. Seriously, I was recording there for 1 day recording and I was on 5 episodes. So I plan to spread out my content in that type of way too, where I always have things scheduled to post for you guys. I'm still going to do my lives. I have an interview. I'm going to have my first Big Brother interview sometime in February. I have other interviews, but this is going to be my first Big Brother interview. It is somebody from Big Brother season 23. For those of you who are members of my channel, you already know because I posted it in there. If you want to find out who that person is, join my member page. Shameless plug. Join my member page if you want to find out who my first Big Brother interview is going to be. But if you can wait, it's okay. You can wait, and it's going to drop for you whenever I'm able to get that scheduled in. But I'm excited about that. I might have an interview from somebody this season as well. Not confirmed yet. Confirmed and not confirmed. Confirmed as in they said they would, but not confirmed as in we don't have a date locked in. But these two people are not people I spoke to managers. They're people that I spoke to them directly. And they told me that they were going to do the interviews. So that's why I feel more confident in getting that done. Take care, everybody. Peace and love. Shout out to the replay crew. I'll be chatting with y'all. I don't know when, but sometime soon. Have a great one.